ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सागन ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome back. We are looking at 18th chapter, the part 3. We just have 3 more sessions to go, and with that we will complete this series. So we'll start with the invocation, the summary verse of the 18th chapter by Sripad Yamunacharya. He says, Ishware katrita buddhi sattvopadeyata antime swakarma parinamasya shastra sarata uchyate. He says there are 4 topics in the 18th chapter. The first is that the thought that he is the doer about Bhagavan. That means understanding that the Lord is the doer. And this is the first part of the 18th chapter, which is Kartrutva Buddhi Tyaga. That means we don't think ourselves to be the doer, we understand Krishna as the doer. And the details of all that we saw in the previous class. Right? How about there are 5 factors of action, but the super soul is most important among them all. And he was compared to the king and so on and so forth. So we saw that already in detail. The second topic which we have just started is Sattopayada Antime. That means how to abide in Sattoguna. By and large, one should abide in Sattoguna. So this is the second topic which we will complete today. The third topic is Swakarma Parinamascha. How Karma Yoga ultimately leads you to Mukti. This we will see next time. And finally, Shastra Sarartha Uchyate. The essence of the Bhagavad Gita, which is 18.66, which we will see next time. So in this way, the 18th chapter has been very beautifully summarized by Yamunacharya, and we will complete. So we have already done the first 22 verses, so I am moving straight away to the 23rd verse. So we have done all this. Yeah, so this part also we have done, but the modes. So what happens is Krishna initially speaks about how he is the doer, and then Sattvika Tyaga. So the concept of Sattvika Tyaga means to understand that I will do all action, but I am not the doer. Then who is the doer? The doer, so Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga. That means the Lord is doing everything. That is the first thing. Then Mamata Tyaga. The action is not for me. The action itself is for his pleasure. And Phala Tyaga. The fruit of whatever has been done is also for his pleasure. So because the first part of the 18th chapter talks about this Tyaga and the Sattvika Tyaga, Krishna is speaking about Sattoguna again. Okay, so there are 5 things that Krishna takes. One is Jnana, Karma, Karta, Buddhi, and Dhritti. So these 5 topics Krishna takes. And then of course Sukha. Sukha is like a parinam, a conclusion. Right. So first thing is Jnana. Jnana means how you visualize things in the world. Okay, this we already did last time. So the Jnana by which one sees everywhere the same Atma is Sattoguna, and where you see different entities, where you are unable to see the person as the Atma, that means you see the person only as the body, that is called as Rajoguna. And the Jnana in which one sticks to something very, very meager, petty, alpam. For some petty fruits, one sticks at. That is called as Tamoguna. We saw all this already. So today we are going to cover a lot of ground from 23rd verse to 42nd verse. Okay, so let's go through these verses. The translations are very similar to Prabhupada's translations here, almost the same. However, there are some points in the purports of Ramanujacharya which are worth touching on. So only that I will be touching. So we'll move ahead a bit quickly. So the first topic, as we said, was Jnana in 3 modes. That is already done. Now the next topic Krishna is speaking about is how karma is in 3 modes. Karma is the action. Okay. And the third is karta, the doer. So like that, there are 5-6 topics in 3 modes. So look at the verse number 23. Niyatam sankarahitam araga dveshata kritam afala prepsuna karma yattat satvika muchyate. The karma which is appropriate to one's class and station in life and sanctioned by the scriptures and performed without attachment that one is the doer of the karma and the karma belongs to oneself, without expectation of fame or fear of the blame, without desiring for rewards of the karma, such a karma is said to be sattvic in nature. Okay, so when is a karma sattvic in nature? When it is done with the various tyagas. And that means raga, dvesha has to be given up means phala, right? So without araga means without worrying about the phala. So the same thing, the same concept which Krishna spoke is emphasizing in terms of the karmana. That means the action which is done, see again, niyatam, according, appropriate to one's class and station in life and sanctioned by scripture. So that is also very important. I mean, I cannot just take anything and do. But according to one situation, when one does something, according to the varna and ashrama, etc., then that becomes sattvika. So like that. So that word niyatam is also very important. Niyatam. The Prabhupada calls it as regulated, but here he calls it as appropriate. That's why, for example, we see in the Ramayana that there was one person who was wanting to do tapasya just to barge into heaven and kill Indra and so on. So Lord Ram killed him because he was not doing a karma that was appropriate to the class and which was not sanctioned by the scriptures, simply envious of the devatas. Like that. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahamkarena vapunaha kriyate bahula yasam tad raja samudahritam. However, that karma which is performed with a desire for its rewards and with the thought that oneself is the sole cause of the performance of the karma, requiring extremely large efforts exceeding the rewards itself, such a karma is said to be rajasic in nature. So tu means to show that this is different from the previous one. This word tu here. So 3 things are said. Kamepsuna. Kamepsuna means with the desire for the rewards. That means the objects. One is behind some object. And it is done with that goal in mind. And sa ahankarena. That means ahankara. Generally, we may translate ahankara as false ego, but here he translates it as thinking that I am the sole cause of the performer of karma. That means one is not clear that there are actually 5 different causes and super soul is there. Somebody thinks that I am only doing everything like that. And such a person will not obviously aspire for moksha. And because kartritva buddhi is not there, so phalatyaga is not there, mamata tyaga is not there, no tyaga is there over here. And bahulasiyasam, because what happens is he thinks that he is the only person doing. So he thinks who else but me will work hard and do this work. So bahulayasam means he thinks that since I am the only person who has to do this, there is no Ishvara or somebody like that. I have to only somehow. So the effort, the prayasa in the Rajasika karma tends to be much higher because you don't see the role of Ishvara in your life like that. So this is about the karma. Then karma in the mode of Rajoguna. Then the third one, Anubandham Kshayam Himsa Anapekshaka cha Paurusham Mohat Arabate Karma Yattat Tamasam Uchyate. That karma which is initiated without properly considering with the help of pramanas and logic, anapeksha, anubandham, the undesirable consequences that the karma will bring once it is completed, shayam, loss of wealth involved in performing the karma, himsa, the harm that will be inflicted to many living beings. Whether oneself has the required ability, capacity to complete such karma, with the ignorance of Bhagavan being the primary doer of the karma, such a karma is said to be tamasic in nature. Okay, so Ramanujacharya here he gives the example of Ravana. So Ravana was not thinking, he basically pushed misery to everybody. So today is Dasara. So Ravana basically pushed misery to everyone. He pulled everyone into the war without thinking the undesirable consequences of what he did. right? And the harm which was inflicted to so many people. So that is considered karma in Tamoguna, what Ravana did. And overestimating strength. See, that's also another interesting. Overestimating strength means, do I have the capacity to do this? Okay, whether one has the required capacity to do such karma. So he says the difference between Sattoguna and Tamoguna is that in Sattoguna, one thinks I'm instrument of God. Hence, in Sattoguna, what happens is he has the faith that God will achieve these three things through him. Hence, it is considered okay. But in Tamoguna, the person considers he is the doer. Hence, overestimating strength is mentioned here. So it's a very subtle but important difference. Just like, I mean, we can give the example of Prabhupada only, who, for example, goes in the Jaladuta to America 1965. In one sense, what he did was overestimating his strength and ability, somebody may say. Because even that Sumati Morarji felt that, Arey, you're such an old Swamiji, how can you go to America and survive over there? Right? So it seems as if he was overestimating his strength, but he was confident that Krishna is working through him, right? I mean, that were the prayers that he wrote in the Jaladuta. So that comes in Sattva. So please try to understand, it is not just so the action, the basis of the action is seen to decide whether it is in Sattva-guna or Tamo-guna. Whereas some ordinary person, he tries to do something where, right, he doesn't have that required confidence that Krishna is working through him or he's an instrument of God, etc. Then his action becomes tamasic. He does try to do something Paurusham. He has not understood whether he has the ability or capacity to complete such karma. So for the karma to be in Sattoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, it is about the background of the person. It may look the same. Someone in Sattoguna may try to do something Herculean task. And in Tamoguna also he may try to do something Herculean task. But the difference is here, because this person doesn't have the knowledge or the understanding that Krishna is doing things and I am only an instrument, so then the whole burden comes upon him and he falls. Whereas the Sattoguna, because he has the confidence that Krishna will do it using me as an instrument, and Krishna eventually does it as well, so then that karma becomes Sattva. So like that, the distinction is done over here. Okay, so this completes karma. Okay, now the next thing is karta. Karta is the doer, right? Karta is the doer. 26th verse. Mukta Sanko Nahambadi Dhrityutsahasamanvitaha Siddhya Siddhyor Nirvikaraha Karta Satvika Uchate. One who performs karma. So here the focus is on the doer, not on the action. Okay, one who performs karma without desiring its rewards and without the thought of ownership of karma, Mukta Sangha, which means Phala Tyaga and Mamata Tyaga are described here. Anahambadi, the one who is bereft of the thoughts of oneself being doing the karma. That means Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga. I am not the doer, like that. The one who has the fortitude to put up with the unavoidable difficulties that arise during the performance of karma and pursues the karma enthusiastically with dedication. See, that is also Karta's mood. That means there will be so many difficulties that will come, but still he keeps doing. The one who remains unperturbed, unaffected by happiness or sorrow, whether one is bestowed with the kingdom, etc., in this life or not, and whether one is successful or not. Such an agent of karma, that is the karta, is said to be sattvic in nature. So very, very clear definition Krishna is given. Sattvika karta means he has again all the three tyagas he has, and more importantly, he tolerates all the disturbances and he does karma with great enthusiasm. Right? So this is sattvika karma. So there is, see, Krishna so much emphasizes on that detached mood of working in this world. That's what we see in Bhagavad Gita throughout. Krishna is, in one sense, we may feel that it is a repetition, but Krishna hammers this concept so much of detached work in this world. Let's see Karta in Rajoguna. Ragi karma falapre sur lubdho himsatma koshuchihi harsha shokan vita karta rajasa parikirtitaha. The agent of karma who craves for fame, the karta who craves for fame, the one who is desiring of attaining the fruits of the karma, the one who does not have the willingness to spend the money required to accomplish the karma. See, Buddha. The one who makes others work very hard in getting the karma completed, himsatmaka. The one who does not have the requisite cleanliness to undertake karma is stipulated in the Shastra. The one who gets elated by success of karma and depressed when the karma is unsuccessful. Such an agent of karma is said to be Rajasic in nature. Oh, beautiful definition, right? So many characteristics Krishna has said. One or two which are very unique here, we will emphasize on that. Krishna basically says that, like, the one point he has said, himsatmakaha, making others work very hard to get your karma done. So for that, Ramanuja quotes this thing from Apastamba Sutra. So there is a Dharma Shastras, very famous rishi called Apastamba. So he writes, Kama Matmanam Bharya Putram Va Uparundyat Natveva Dasha Karma Karam. So he says, so this is from the Dharma Shastras. He says, one can get extra work done by one's own wife or children. Bharyam Putram. That means from your family members, you can push them sometimes to do some extra work. Let's say you want to do some yajna or some puja or something you want to do at home. Diwali is coming, Dasara is coming, and you want to get some very big karma done. So you can get it done from your family. But he says from your servants, you must never push them to do beyond what they are supposed to. So this is Dharma Shastra. You cannot exploit your servants. Family members, they are our own people. So one may push them a little bit more to do something. Like we all at home, we sometimes we push each other to do a little more than whatever allotted tasks are at home. And that is considered fine, he says. But he says, servants, no, you must not do that. Because that comes under Rajoguna. See, the Shastras are very sensitive. See, because that person is employed for a particular task and you cannot exploit him beyond what he is supposed to do and beyond what you are paying him for. Of course, if you are paying him extra, that's a different thing. But sometimes people have this attitude of exploiting servants and trying to extract too much from them. So that is all considered here as himsatmakaha, right? So that means you're trying to push them, work very hard to get things done. So he says you cannot do that. So this is a very interesting translation and commentary here for this particular point. Another thing which he says is asuchihi. Asuchihi means, asuchi generally means no cleanliness. But he has given a very unique translation. He says the one who does not have the requisite cleanliness to undertake karma. That means, so Ramanuja says that, so to do our any karma, one has to have cleanliness. And the cleanliness comes by doing one's basic duties like sandhya, etc. He says. Sandhya hina asuchihi. So without that, one tends to be unclean, and hence any other karma done doesn't turn to be successful. So for example, a Brahmana is there, he's supposed to do his sandhya first. If he doesn't do that and he's doing a big yajna or a shraddha, that's considered useless because your primary duty only you have not done, and now you are trying to do something which is beyond that. So asuchihi. So that means there are some basic nitya karma the Shastra has specified which will ensure that one is clean, and that is always to be done. And that's how it always was. Like, they have said this many times. That if you see the Mahabharata, it is said that they would begin at sunrise after the sandhya was done, and at sunset they would stop the fighting and again do their sandhya. So it's very interesting that even in a war-like situation, they never gave up that basic nitya karma. They never gave up that. And I think once I quoted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, Chaitanya Bhagavad, this beautiful story, when some students come to him and they come to him in the morning to study grammar, but there is no tilak on their forehead. And Mahaprabhu sees them and says that most likely you have not done your sandhya. That's why there is no tilak on your forehead. There is no point in studying grammar like this. You please go home, do your sandhya, put your tilak, and then only you go to come back to me. So, because this was considered basic requirement to maintain one's cleanliness of consciousness. So that's the point that is said here, right? So this is Rajasika Karta, right? And now there is Tamasika Karta. So let's see what is Tamasika Karta. Ayukta Prakrita Stabda Shato Naishkriti Kolasaha Vishadi Dirga Sutri Cha Karta Tamasa Uchate. Okay, so he says here, the agent of karma who is unfit to perform the prescribed karmas as he possesses foul deeds. Ayuktaha. The one who does not have required knowledge for the practice of karma, the one who is not keen on initiating the karma and has weird behavior, the one who brings harm to others using karma prescribed in the Shastra, the one who is treacherous and brings evil to others through deceit, tricks, etc., the one who is lazy even in pursuing the karma which has already started, the one who is always dull and morose, and the one who plans to bring harm for others for a long duration, such an agent of karma is said to be tamasic in nature. So, for this tamasic karta, okay, so agent of karma means karta, please remember. Here Krishna is talking about karta, as I said earlier. Krishna has given many, many adjectives for the karta who is tamasic. First is ayukta. See, previously Krishna said asuchi. Asuchi means unclean, right? But ayukta means even worse. He is saying vikarma. See, asuchi means you are not doing your nitya karma, what you are supposed to do. So you have become asuchi, unclean. Ayukta means you are doing vikarma, evil deeds, such a karta. Okay, so he's more fallen. And then look at the next one. He doesn't have the required knowledge, so he has not understood exactly how to do. Stabda means he says he has weird behavior. So Ramanuja says Stabda means like he doesn't know how to respect the guru. So the guru or an elderly person comes and he keeps sitting only. Stabda. Like how Indra was sitting when Brihaspati came into the assembly. So that becomes, then the karta becomes in tamoguna. Look at that other one. Shat, this word shata which is there, na? Shata means one who brings harm to others using karma prescribed in Shastra. So if you remember last time also I told this point that there are tantric methods which are available in astrology or certain scriptures where you can cause harm to somebody, where you can do yajna to ensure somebody is killed and so on. Like we see Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time also that Bishak Sen was there. He was a tantric yogi. So he was following Shastra only. So because Shastra is broad, right? So he was following Shastra, but Shatya, he was doing all that to cause harm to someone. So such a actor is such a person who is doing this is considered in this, right? Alasa, very very lazy and everything, postponing karma. Now see, Dirgha Sutri, Ramanuja has given a very different definition. Prabhupada in his commentary has given Dirgha Sutri as procrastinating. Certainly, that's one way of looking at it. But here he has said Dirgha Sutri means because there are many points given in the verse earlier, right, about how the the karta in Tamoguna wants to harm others. There is shata, there is naishkrita, all these words are there, which means he wants to harm people. So what Ramanuja has done is he has said Dirgha Sutri means one who is planning to harm others for a very long time. So, for a long time, he is only thinking how to harm this person. So such a karta is considered in Tamoguna. So in this way, karta is done in three verses. Now that karta is done, now the next one is buddhi. Okay, and we will see what this buddhi is. So verse 29, buddher bedam driteshcheva guna gunatas trividam shrinu tochamanam asheshena pratakwena dhananjaya. Hey Arjuna, listen to as I am describing in detail separately about the threefold division as per the influence of the three gunas of the buddhi, which is a conclusion regarding tattva and purushartha that is developed from the shastra, and of the fortitude of mind which enables one to cope with whatever obstacles that may arise during the course of performance of karma. Okay, so now what is happening is Krishna is going to talk about two more topics. See, till now three topics are done. Jnana is done in three modes, karma is done in three modes, karta is done in three modes. Now Krishna is going to talk about buddhi and dhriti. So first we have to understand the difference between these. What is the difference between jnana, buddhi and dhriti? All these, in a way, somebody may say look similar. No, but they are very, very different. Jnana means whatever acts have to be to know the actions recommended by the Veda. That jnana basically is knowledge. To know how you know things. That is jnana. Buddhi is the decision making process. Okay, so buddhi, Ramanuja defines it like this: Viveka purvam parapaksha pratikshaye paryante vichara purvam nischay rupam jnana. That means after a lot of contemplation, one comes to some decision, and that decision is called buddhi. Right? Okay, so just to give a simple example, like suppose you want to climb Mount Everest. Okay, what all to buy to climb Mount Everest is jnana. Okay, so obviously, if I want to climb Mount Everest, I cannot go wearing this kind of dhoti and kurta, right? I need, I mean, not even ordinary thermal will do. So I have to have jnana about what all things I need if I have to climb Mount Everest, how many days it will take. All that is jnana. Buddhi means what? That decision. Okay, you understood first what all it takes to climb Mount Everest. Now, are you going to make the decision to actually climb? Somebody may say, I accumulated all the knowledge to climb Mount Everest. Now I am afraid only of climbing. I don't want only to. So that means Buddhi has rejected it. So Buddhi means after contemplation, one comes to a decision. Okay, I will climb Mount Everest. That is Buddhi. Then the question is, what is Dhriti? So Dhriti means, he defines, Arabhya Kriyaya Vigna Upateti Dharanam. That means a lot of obstacles will come in one's way when one tries to do something. And one has to stick to Sankalpa, and that is Dhriti. Okay, that means, okay, you first got all the knowledge to climb Mount Everest, and then you made the decision also now you will climb Mount Everest. Now, when you actually start climbing Mount Everest, you should have a dhriti also, right? A resolute uh, system where you decide that I will stick to my sankalpa of climbing Mount Everest. Otherwise, many people are there who start climbing after 1 week, they will become tired. They will say, "My God, I don't want to do all this. I'll come back." So I hope the difference between these three are clear. Jnana, Buddhi, and Dhriti. So in our example, Jnana means I'll accumulate all the knowledge to climb Mount Everest. Buddhi means I make the decision that I will climb Mount Everest, and Dhriti means I will stick to that decision in spite of obstacles. That is called as Dhriti. So like this, so Dhriti is the determination to keep going despite challenges. Correct? Like for example, we can say our Duryodhana's Dhriti, resolute determination was he will not give any land to the Pandavas no matter what. So that was like very obstinate kind of Dhriti. It is Tamoguna. Correct. So these three are completely different from each other. So we have only seen jnana. We have only seen of buddhi and dhriti. So that's what he has said here. Buddhi is the conclusion regarding tattva and purushartha developed from Shastra. That means how do you make your decision making process is called as buddhi. This buddhi is similar to the mana buddhi ahankar also. That buddhi. That buddhi is related to decision making process. Dhriti means the fortitude of the mind which enables one to cope with whatever obstacles that may arise during the course of performance of karma. So in this way, it is very clear, right? Buddhi and Dhriti. Now Krishna is going to describe Buddhi in three modes, right? So let's look at this. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham chaya veti buddhi sa partha satviki. So Buddhi is feminine, so hence satviki is mentioned here. Hey Arjuna, that intellect that helps one to grasp the dharmas which lead to earning worldly gains and the dharmas which is meant to attaining liberation, what activities ought to be done and what are not to be done, and that which brings fearlessness and that which brings fear, the nature of bondage, the nature of liberation, such an intellect in sattvic in nature. So when is the buddhi sattvic? Buddhi is sattvic when you know exactly which is pravritti and which is nivritti. So pravritti and nivritti, Prabhupada translates it as doing and not doing. So that could be one way of looking at it. Ramanuja has given a different translation here. He is saying pravritti means, in his commentary, he says pravritti means dharma, artha, kama is pravritti. In dharma, artha, kama, moksha, four are there, right? Four purusharthas. The first three purushartha, dharma, artha, kama is pravritti. That means there are many actions that are pravritti, which are leading to worldly gains. And nivritti means moksha, bhakti, everything is generally counted in nivritti. That means which is the dharma for attaining liberation. So there are dharmas for worldly gains, there are dharmas for attaining liberation. And buddhi means to clearly understand, okay, this is in the worldly pursuit, and this is in liberation context. So understand that very clearly. Okay, because if you have that correct buddhi, then only you will engage properly, right? If you don't know only which is pravritti, which is nivritti, you can confuse the two. And of course, the sattviki person is going to do everything. He is going to do the pravritti also, but he will do it with the three tyagas that we have already said earlier. Correct? So that is how he translates pravritti. Karya means what? In pravritti and nivritti, you need to know what I should do and what I should not do. Okay, so in anything, in Pravriti Dharma, one should know what are the things to be done, how to bath, how to take bath, how to do sandhya or how to do whatever, and how to worship the deity. You should know, and what I should not do while doing all that. So that is Karya Karya. And Bhaya Bhaye. What is Bhaya Bhaye? Fear and fearlessness means what? What is fearing and what is, does it mean that he is fearful of a thief because thief gives Bhaya? No. He says the Satviki Buddhi means he is fearful of moving away from Shastra. Okay. Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi. He quotes the previous verses of the Gita and saying that the Satviki Buddhi is afraid of moving away from Shastra. If you tell him to do something which is not recommended by Shastra, he is afraid. Shastra Langhanam, he says, should give Bhaya. Okay, so like this. So once buddhi, decision making ability is aligned like this, knowing very clearly this is pravriti, this is nivritti, and in that this is to be done, this is not to be done, this is bondage, this is not. He knows everything, then his buddhi is considered sattviki. Okay. Now what is Rajasi buddhi? Have a look at this. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha karyam eva cha ayathavat prajaniti buddhi sa partha rajasi. That intellect by which one understands the dharmic and adharmic activities and the proper and prohibited activities not by their real nature. Such an intellect is rajasic in nature. Which means what? Which means rajasic buddhi or decision making process means he doesn't understand what is pravriti, what is nivriti. That means he doesn't exactly understand what is dharma, adharma. Okay, he doesn't understand what is karya, akarya. He doesn't understand all this. Okay, I want to give a simple example here. Just like many people nowadays, they don't understand only, for example, what is the role of marriage. Simple example. So marriage is a karma, which is in pravriti only, correct? And the Shastra has recommended that everybody should get married. But still, there are people who don't understand why they should get married. Some people think that marriage is a cause of bondage, when actually it is not. So this is all Rajasi Buddhi. That means you have arrived at a decision-making process where you have actually not understood what is Pravriti, Nivritti, what is to be done, not done, nothing. You have not understood the real nature of all this. Okay, so such an this is a simple example I'm giving. So, but you can think of so many other examples like this, right? So such a buddhi one has, then it is considered rajasic. Now look at tamasic. Adharmam dharmamiti ya manyate tamasa vrita sarvartha viparitamscha buddhim sa partha tamasi. That intellect which is shrouded by tamoguna and thus makes one perceive adharma as dharma and vice versa and makes apprehend everything in its opposite nature. Such an intellect in tamasic. So basically, Ramanuja says the difference between rajasic and tamasic is in tamasic the covering is so strong that one understands the exactly opposite. Okay, so he gives an example. Just like suppose if you show a shankha is white in color, but suppose somebody is saying no, the shankha is yellow in color, then he is rajasic. At least he understood shankha, but you don't understand only. So the example he gives is you look at a rope and think that is a snake. That is tamasic. You have not understood only that it is a rope. Completely contradictory understanding. Like going back to our example, somebody thinks marriage means it is like a hellish situation. So you have not understood what that is. So completely opposite understanding of what it is supposed to be. Right? So thinking dharma to be adharma and adharma to be dharma. Okay, so like that. So, right, one who doesn't accept Veda, so there is a verse of Manu, one who doesn't accept Veda or speaks something not spoken in the Veda is all a product of tamasa buddhi. One cannot move away from the Veda. That is considered tamas. So it's very, very clear. So if you arrive at such a decision-making process which is against the Shastra, then it is considered tamasa buddhi. And it is so much prevalent in today's world, we see. Now the next thing is dhritti, determination. Okay, let's see how that is going to be. This is the last thing in the three modes. There were five topics, right? First was jnana, second was karma, third was karta, fourth was buddhi, and fifth is dhriti. And dhriti, as I said earlier, is the a determination to stick to something. Okay, you made a decision, but then even after you make a decision, there will be obstacles. So you have to still stick on to it. How that Dhriti is also in three modes, and let us see what is Satviki Rajasi Tamasi here. Dityaya dharete mana pranendriya kriyaha yoge na vyabhicharinya dhriti sa partha sakti. Hey Arjuna, that firm determination of mind which never deviates to other goals due to the performance of yoga that is joyous and by which one controls the activities of mind, vital airs, and the sense organs. Such a determination of mind is Satviki in nature. Okay. So that means what is the determination? It never deviates to other goals. Okay, that means see because Dhriti means what? How fixed you are. Okay, so not moving away from the goal. So why does the person not move away from the goal? Krishna is saying because he does yoga. Okay, so yoga here is dhyana on Bhagavan. So because he is joyous, he doesn't deviate from the goal. Okay, so Dhriti is the most sound over here. And what does he do? He controls his mind, senses, and prana. Because without these three, one cannot stick to any decision. So any karma, if you need to do, then you need your mind, your prana, and your sense organs must be solid, and you need their cooperation. So one has to keep them subdued. So Satviki Dhriti means one is able to do all that. Then only a person is considered Satviki. Yeah. I mean, anything, like if you take sadhana also, right? Dhriti means like we all know, like, if you have to chant 16 rounds daily, entire life, it's not a joke, right? You have to fight, as in, there will be the mind, the prana, will tell so many things, but one still sticks to it. So the ability to stick to one's schedule and one's pattern of living, that is dhriti. Because so many obstacles comes, but still to decide, no matter what I could do. यया तो धर्म कामार्थान धृत्या धारयतेर्जुन प्रसंगेन फलकांक्षी धृति सा पार्थ राजसी. No? Rajasi Dhriti is said. Hey Arjuna, that determination of mind, firm determination, through which one who desires for the fruits other than liberation, with intense attachment, pursues dharma, worldly pleasures, and material possessions, by engaging his mind, vitalizes and sense organs in activities for their attainment. Such a determination of the mind is Rajasic in nature. So the so in Rajasic, what happens is the Falakankshi is very high. So there is great attachment. Prasangena. Prasangena means Prakrishta Sangena. With such a mood, he is engaged in Dharma Artha Kama. So his Dhriti is considered Rajasi, in the mode of passion. Then the final one in this series, what is the Dhriti in the Tamasa? Yaya Swapnam Bayam Shokam Vishadam Madameva Cha Navimunchati Dhurmeda Dhriti Sa Partha Tamasi. Hey Arjuna, that firm determination of mind through which a person of corrupt intellect does not give up the activities of mind, vitalize, and sense organs, and perceives to perform karma which lead to sleep, arrogance arising from material enjoyment, fear, sorrow, despair. Such a resolve of mind is tamasic in nature. See, there are five things Krishna mentions here due to tamasic dhriti. First is swapna. Swapna basically means sleep, or it can also mean dreaming. So any kind of daydreaming, etc. Many times, right, our mind doesn't go beyond daydreaming. We only keep dreaming, oh, I will do this, I will do that, but nothing we will do. So if we are having such a resolution where we can't go beyond dreaming, if we only dream and we stop at that, then that is considered tamasic. That is first, swapna. Second is mother. That means you engage in acts that ultimately lead to arrogance. That means due to material enjoyment, you're very arrogant. Second. Third is bhaya. Bhaya means he says one tries to do something which one is not competent for, and then that leads to bhaya. Like that he says. Like somebody is like Kshatriya, but he goes to fight against someone who's much, much more powerful than him. So then he will be in bhaya. Shoka. Shoka means he says you do some wrong act and hence you keep lamenting. And finally, Vishada. Vishada means, for example, he says you spend too much of money leading to despair. So any of these five are indications of tamasic dhruti. That means our resolution is not going beyond. That means we are always in sorrow, we are always doing the wrong thing and repenting, and so on and so forth. So repentance is important, but beyond the repentance, one rectifies and go ahead. Like you see, Ajamil also repented for what he did, but then he didn't stop with that repentance. He went ahead and changed himself, went to Haridwar, did tapasya, and went back to God. So then that kind of repentance is not being spoken here. But here the resolution doesn't go beyond repentance. So the person keeps doing the same mistake again and again. There are many people like that, right? You see, their life doesn't change only. Same mistake they will keep doing again and again and again. And anytime you meet them, they say, "Oh, I'm unable to uplift myself only." That means they're leading only in despair. So such a person is considered tamasic dhritti. His resolution is considered in tamoguna. Okay, so with this, Krishna has completed five things. So please remember the whole context of 18th chapter. 18th chapter started with the whole concept of the three tyagas, because Arjuna asked difference between tyaga and sannyas. So Krishna spoke about tyaga and he spoke about three tyagas: kartritva buddhi tyaga, mamata tyaga, and phala tyaga. And to do these three tyagas, one must be in sattva guna. And in order to be in sattva guna, Krishna spoke about five things: jnana, which is knowledge; karma, which is action; karta, which is the doer; buddhi, which is the decision making process; and dhritti, which is to stick to the decision making process. How these five things are in Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun, Krishna spoke. Why did Krishna speak all this? Because ultimately you are supposed to come to Sattvagun. Correct? Because only when you come to Sattvagun, you can do Sattvic Tyaga. And only when you do Tyaga, that Arjuna's first question is answered. It's all connected to that. Correct. Now, what Krishna is going to do is, in the next verse onwards, Krishna is going to speak about the outcome of being in Sattvagun. Because somebody may say, okay, you spoke about so many things in Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun. But what is the parinama, or what is the consequence of sticking to Sattva or uh, Rajoguna or Tamoguna? No, everything will have a consequence, right? That consequence Krishna is speaking. Right, and this is the last three in the context of the three modes. Sukham vidani trividam shrunume bharatarshava abhyasa dramate yatra dukkhantam cha nigacchati. Hey Arjuna, the best among the descendants of Bharata dynasty. The happiness which is attained as a result of different factors discussed till now: karma, agent, knowledge, intellect, fortitude. See, five things Krishna spoke, right? Karma, agent is karta, knowledge is jnana, intellect is buddhi, fortitude is dhritti. These five things Krishna spoke. The happiness is attained as a result of this is of three kinds. Listen about the same in detail from me now. Okay, so in the first half of the verse, Krishna is only introducing the topic. And then look at what he says. He says the happiness in which one rejoices, one rejoices extensively upon continuous repetition, and in which one attains the end of all worldly sorrows. Okay, so the second line is actually talking about Sattva-guna. So it's a very, very interesting way of defining. See what Krishna has said. See, Abhyasat Ramate. Abhyasat Ramate means the same thing you keep doing again and again. Abhyasa means what? Same thing you keep doing again and again. And in that you rejoice. If that is possible, then that is Sattvika. See, why Krishna is saying this is because it's only Sattvic Sukha which is such that again and again you do and you can rejoice in it. Okay, Rajasic and Tamasic you cannot. Right? Like for example, first time when somebody, so even if you take food, suppose let us say somebody likes a favorite item. Okay, someone likes something, like let's say someone likes samosa, right? So first time you eat samosa, it is nice, and let us say you keep repeating it. Let us say you tell the person, "Oh, you like samosas? Please eat 50 samosas." Second samosa, third samosa. Till then it may be okay. Fourth samosa, you will literally start puking. 50th samosa means you will die only by the time he eats that, right? So it becomes torture. Then suppose you say, oh, okay, because all samosas were given together, it is miserable. Let us give him samosa, because he likes samosa very much, let us give him samosa on all consecutive days. I mean, today you eat two samosas, tomorrow also samosa, day after again samosa. 50 continuous days you be giving samosa. Then also we all know that even if a person likes samosa a lot, the person will get bored actually, right? So that's the point, right? So anything which is not satvika, abhyasat ramate. Look at that word. It's a classic word Krishna uses here. Abhyasat ramate. Same thing doing again and again cannot give you pleasure unless it is satvika. Only satvika sukha is such that it will give pleasure. Same thing again and again. Anything, even the drunkard who is there, he wants a break from the drinking, right? So satvika is not like that. It doesn't decrease at all. Like we chant the same name of Krishna every day, but still, right? It is not boring. It's the same thing, but it is giving pleasure. So so that is how it is, right? So satvika sukha means repeating it gives pleasure, and samsara. So very clear, very clear. Now Krishna elaborates that further. Look at that in the next verse, 37th verse. Krishna is talking about satvika. यत्तदग्रे विषमव परिणामे अमृतोपमं तत्सुखम सात्विकम प्रोक्तम आत्मबुद्धि प्रसादः. That happiness which at the beginning, at the commencement of yoga, is bitter like poison, as it requires a lot of effort. However, as the yoga develops more and more, becomes sweet like ambrosia, amrita, and is born from a clear and mature knowledge about the Jivatma and Paramatma, such a form of happiness is said to be sattvic in nature. Right? Beautiful definition. So, poison here means Ramanuja says very difficult. Why very difficult? He says because two reasons. We don't have habit, and second, we don't get happiness immediately in bhakti or anything sattvic. Immediately, it will not give happiness. But in long term, it is amrita because it will make you immortal. It will take you back to God. It will give you moksha. So it is palatable. Okay, so that is why it is called sattvic. So like that is simple. Now look at the Rajasika. Vishendriya samyogad yattadagre amrutopamam pariname vishamiva tatsukam rajasam smriti. That happiness which is produced by the contact of indriya with the sense object. So very clearly defined. Vishaya indriya samyoga. Senses and sense object के साथ में संपर्क में जो सुख मिलता है, right? Agre, which at the time of experiencing is sweet like nectar, but as the effects are experienced, is bitter like poison. Such a happiness is said to be rajasic in nature. So parinama means here he says the consequence when you do it repeatedly. I repeat again. Parinama means Ramanuja says the consequence when you do the same thing repeatedly. It becomes like poison, he says. So he explains further why it is like that. He says nothing in the sense object actually gives you pleasure, but there is a hunger in you. Hunger as in there is a trishna, a thirst in you for the sense object. And hence, when the hunger goes away, it is not palatable anymore. Okay, it is not palatable anymore. Means even before you enjoyed, there was nothing in it except your mind that had the hunger for the senses. For example, a man just falls in love with some random woman and he wants to enjoy her. So there is a lust in him, a desperation in him because he wants to touch her and enjoy her. But once that enjoyment is done, then immediately what happens? That hunger goes away, that desire to touch her goes away. And then it is like Vishwa. That same relationship, he feels it unpalatable completely. Simple example. Like that, so many examples are there. So basically, Ramanuja says the objects in the world intrinsically don't have anything wonderful, but because your mind has this Krishna or desperation, you feel you need it. Okay, so he says the same object in another context will not give you happiness. So he says, for example, in winter, fire is palatable. Everybody likes to sit near fire. Right? We all know that during New Year, for example, it is very cold. So everybody likes to sit near fire. But the same fire in summer is actually torturous. Okay, so he's asking, is fire by itself giving pleasure? He says, no, fire doesn't give you pleasure. Just because you are feeling cold, the fire is giving you pleasure. But once the cold is gone, the same fire is now actually a torture. Okay, so in summer season, the fire is a headache actually. Right? So he says so like that. And then he gives even a further example, very nice example he says. He says the difference between Sattva and Rajoguna. He says, let us say there is a person in Sattva and Rajoguna. Both of them see the queen The queen is there. She is traveling somewhere in a palanquin, and two people happen to see her. One is in Sattoguna, one is in Rajoguna. The fellow in Rajo, so both of them understand that she is very beautiful because knowledge is there. But the Sattoguna fellow understands that, Are Baba, I'll not go near her, it is only going to give me trouble. But the Rajoguna person, he falls in love with the queen and he doesn't understand that, Are, I'm not supposed to cross this boundary, I'll fall in trouble. Right? He somehow thinks, no, somehow I can get the queen. Right? And then he basically lands in big trouble. So, like that example he gives. So anyway, so this is about Rajoguna. Then Tamoguna. Okay, so this is even more. 39th verse. Yadagre chanu bande cha sukam mohanam atmanah nidralasya pramadottam tat tamasam udahata. That happiness which during enjoyment and at that end increases ignorance in oneself, which is produced by sleep, sloth, and inadvertence. Such a happiness is said to be tamasic in nature. Okay, so he says three characteristics here. So he says basically, tamoguna means you don't understand anything properly. And because you don't understand anything properly, three things are there: happiness from sleep, inattention, and alasyam, not doing anything. So basically, he says being distracted is an indication of tamoguna. Somebody is distracted, that means he is in tamoguna. If you are not focused on your job, he says that is also tamoguna. Okay, so an example we can give. Just like somebody is supposed to do some activity. Let us take a simple example, mundane example. Let's take. Let's say someone is supposed to do census. Census means government has appointed him to go and count how many people are there. 50 houses he's supposed to count. But then what happens? This fellow falls asleep in the daytime. And because he falls asleep, 50 people, 50 houses he was supposed to go to do the government job, but he goes only to 5 houses. The first thing he fell asleep, he goes to 5 houses due to alasya, due to laziness. And when he goes to the 5 houses also, he goes to everybody's home, he gets distracted. He sees what is there in their house. Instead of asking them the questions and noting down properly what he was supposed to do, he looks at the house, he looks at the TV in their house, thinking, oh, this person has such a big TV. He's just getting distracted. So he says three things: being distracted, being lazy, and sleep. These three things, and those who take pleasure in this, see, please try to understand. There are people who take pleasure in being distracted. That means why we understand that they are taking pleasure and distracted, because when they are distracted, they are very comfortable and happy. They actually love being distracted and being non-focused on what they are doing. There are many people, they don't get very focused in what they do. They just like to be thinking that chalo dimag ko tension nahi dete. Sit back and don't think too deeply about anything. Just upar say we will just think about any task that we are doing. That is all an indication of tamoguna. Right? If somebody is like that, then that is tamoguna. And with this tamoguna, he says you cannot achieve the paramatma. Right. Now we are coming to the end of the second topic, right? Just two more verses in the end of the day. न तदस्ति पृथिव्याम्बा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्वं प्रकृति चैर्मुक्तं यदेवि स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः. Such a being does not exist among men in this world, nor among the devatas in the higher celestial abode, who are free from the influence of the three gunas, which are present in Prakriti, in whom all the embodied beings in the samsara are entrapped. Okay, so he's summarizing everything, saying that everything in the world is in the three modes. There is nothing in the world which is not in any of the three. Just a summary. Now, why all this is said, that comes now. Look at this. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Visham, Shudranam cha parantapa, Karmani, Pravibhaktani, Swabhava Prakriti Gunai. Okay, so this is the point. Hey Arjuna, scorcher of the enemies, the scriptures have clearly laid out the division of the functions and the means of livelihood of the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishyas, and of the Shudras, as per the manifestation of the gunas which are predominant in each person in their birth, which in turn is dictated by the karmas performed by the individual in their past lives. So he says that, now see, why all this is said is to tell you that the four varnas which are there, see, because karma yoga means sticking to the varna, right? So all these varnas, the actions in that varna are as per the gunas that you have, right? So So, for example, Sattva Guna means Brahmana means one who has more Sattva. Kshatriya also has Sattva Guna, but he has little more Rajo Guna. Vaishya will also have Sattva Guna, but he will have little Tamo Guna also. Shudra means somebody who has tangibly more Tamo Guna. Right? And Swabhava, it is a very, very important word. Swabhava Jam, this word Swabhava Jam, which Krishna, natural. That means it is very natural for such a person to have such a quality. Okay, because of his past actions. Because of his past actions, he has a particular nature. And because of that particular guna that he has, a particular occupation is suitable for it. Okay, and that is being spoken there. Now, why all this is spoken? Ramanujacharya says because the Brahmanas qualities which are there, they are, everybody should aspire for that, he says. Now, that's a very interesting. This is the last verse we are taking today. And we will end this. So look at that. Shamo damas tapas saucham shanti rajyavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhajam. Look at that. Control of the external indriya, control of the mind, engaging in bodily austerity penance, developing the level of cleanliness, purity to be able to perform actions prescribed in the Shastra, practicing patience and forbearance, straightforward by having the same focus between mind, speech, and actions. Knowledge of the real nature of the higher and lower realities, knowledge pertaining to exceptional and unique attributes of the Supreme Brahman, having the firm conviction in the truth of what is the entire import of the Vedas, all these constitute the natural activities of a Brahmana in accordance with karma performed in previous lives. As I said, Swabhavajam means it is natural to you. Now, when it is natural, so Ramanuja says the question, does it mean that Sattva is natural for Brahmana, means others should not aspire for it? It is no. Everybody has to aspire for these qualities, he says. He says, because these qualities are not only for a Brahmana, but anyone who wants moksha has to aspire for this. So, like that, he says. But the only thing is that for a Brahmana, it is more natural to have these. The others may have to struggle a little bit more to get these. But Brahmanatva, so remember, we have spoken about this many times. So, being a Brahmana is one thing, and achieving Brahmanatva is another thing. Right, like Vidura, if you see Vidura, he was born in a Shudra family, but Brahmanatva was very high in him. Right, or if you see Bhishma, if you see all these people, right, even though they were not quote unquote Brahmana per se in terms of their role in the world, but still Brahmanatva was always there for each of them. So in this way, and we see that also, there's so many examples in Shastra, people of different varnas who basically strive to achieve Brahmanatva. Right? We see that Dharma Vyada, right? He was born in a family of butcher, but still even he was working towards Brahmanatva. Okay, so he was still a butcher only, he was selling meat, but still he had achieved the qualities, some of these qualities. So Ramanuja says that everybody should try to achieve these type of qualities, he says, because Krishna has already said in the 16th chapter 1 to 3. Only thing is for a Brahmana, it's more natural, it's little more easy to develop these qualities. But for the others also, they may have to work a little hard, but they have to come. Why? Because Tyaga. See, all this is connected to this. Because if you have more Sattva, then you can do Tyaga. And when you can do Tyaga, then only you can do Moksha. So the whole Gita is a Moksha Shastra. Right? So that is where we are. So with this, we stop here. We have completed the second section of the 18th chapter, which is about Sattva Guna. Now the third part of this 18th chapter is about how from your karma, you can come to moksha, which we will see next time. And then finally, we will see 18.66. Yeah. Thank you. Any question or comment? Anybody has any question?
Bro, I have one question.
Please go ahead.
So, one point you said that servant should not be exploited. And, yeah. So there was a comment by one industrialist to, work for 70 hours a week. How to see that in this context?
No, certainly that comes from exploitation. In fact, the company that you spoke about, right? They are like very much, what shall I say? See, they pay like peanuts to everybody. Their fresher salary, now it is 3.5 lakhs. 10 years back, they were offering 3.2 lakhs. But their shareholders, the founder members, their children, their daughter and their son and all, they have unimaginable amount of wealth. So basically, see, what has happened is they have understood in India there are many poor people and so many engineering students who come out of colleges. So they exploit everybody by giving them a lot of work, but they don't pay much. But one thing I will say is that by working hard, only one thing happens to a person. He becomes more competent. He can leave that particular company and do something else in life. But
Mm.
these people's attitude is certainly not praiseworthy at all. Because their attitude is to suck as much work as possible, bill their clients in dollars, and give value to the shareholders, and prominently the promoters are only the biggest shareholders. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Prabhu, all this Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, I mean, all these Shastras are there, but right now, not many people are studying it. So most of the time, activities of any person, whatever the leader may be, whether in politics or business or administration or military, they tend to do activities only in mode of passion and ignorance, because this thing is not there. So I mean, we are told to focus on few books only: Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, little bit of Ramayana, Mahabharata. I mean, does this all cover those things that like this Artha Shastra, Dharma Shastra, or how to bring all that back so that we can have a very balanced society? That's like a question I had in mind, bro.
Yeah, good question. So basically, see, yeah, without a doubt, these things are important. How you live in the world, etc. So sometimes, many times, it gets covered in various commentaries like these that we read. That's one way
Mm.
of understanding it. But a more detailed way is actually, to, like, if you see Chanakya, many things, right? Like Prabhupada also, if you see in many of his commentaries, he talks about Chanakya. Right?
Mm.
Things from Chanakya, he'll keep quoting. Chanakya said this, and, right? Matravat Parad. So many things from Chanakya, he'll keep quoting. So they are also coming from the same sources only. So like this, in many of these Acharya commentaries and teachings, we can find it by and large. But more importantly, we can also find it in behavior of people. I think it is in Chaitanya Charitamrita only. There is a verse that says that religious principles are best understood in the behavior of a great person. So when you see traditionally people how they lived, how people actually lived in India, from that also we understand how people live. From that also we can understand many of these aspects. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Anybody else with anything? We'll end the day. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll just have another 3 sessions, and then we have at least completed this particular commentary. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shila Prabhupada ki jai.